Swaddy Cop. Welcome to Break Time with Monte. Today's story, Ebola. Some good news mixed with the bad. The news of the dreaded Ebola virus remains grim. But there has been some good news involving survivors. Here in Thailand, a woman returning from West Africa has been cleared by doctors. Ebola, some good news mixed with the bad. The news of the dreaded Ebola virus remains grim. The disease, thus far confined to West Africa, has killed more than 1,400 people since March. Liberia, the worst affected country with more than 600 deaths, reports that all regions of the country now have cases of Ebola, and medical workers are desperately trying to expand their facilities for coping with the deadly disease. There has been some good news mixed with the bad, however. 2 American missionaries who were sickened with Ebola while working in Liberia and were treated with an experimental drug are doing better and have left the hospital, doctors said Thursday. Dr. Kent Brentley, 33, and Nancy Wrightbull, 60, both Christian aid workers, were infected with Ebola in Monrovia last month as the largest outbreak in history swept West Africa. They were airlifted to Emory University Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia, for treatment in special isolation units 3 weeks ago. Both also received a drug called ZMapp, though experts say it is impossible to know if that aided their recovery. The discharge from the hospital of both these patients poses no public health threat, said Bruce Ribner, director of Emory's Infectious Disease Unit. This is a fairly devastating disease, but we would anticipate that, in general, most patients, if they have not had any substantial organ damage, will make a complete recovery. Brantley, who smiled and held hands with his wife before reading a prepared statement for reporters, looked thin but otherwise healthy. I'm thrilled to be alive, to be well, and to be reunited with my family, Brantley said. A medical worker. Meanwhile, in Thailand, a Thai woman who recently returned from Liberia has been cleared by doctors who determined she did not have the deadly virus. Dr. Narong Sahametapat, Permanent Secretary for Health, said Friday a checkup done on the 48-year-old woman found she was not running a fever, an early indicator of Ebola virus disease infection, and there were no signs of the Ebola virus in her bloodstream. Now, for today's vocabulary. Aid, aid, airlift, airlift, anticipate, anticipate, bloodstream, bloodstream, confined, confined, desperately, desperately, detect, detect, determine, determine, devastating, devastating, discharge, discharge, dreaded, dreaded, expand, expand, experimental, experimental, expert, expert, facility, facility, fairly, fairly, fever, fever, grim, grim, in general, in general, indicator, indicator, infected, infected, infectious, infectious, isolation, isolation, meanwhile, meanwhile, missionary, missionary, organ, organ, outbreak, outbreak, patient, patient, permanent secretary, permanent secretary, pose, pose, press conference, press conference, recovery, recovery, region, region, release, release, reporter, reporter, reunite, reunite, substantial, substantial, suffer, suffer, swept, swept, threat, threat, thrilled, thrilled, treat, treat. That's today's story and vocabulary. You have a great day. I'll see you next time here on Break Time with Monte.